As a ghost type, it can ignore those body presses, but it will have to be careful about being the ×4 super effective hit from the Chien Pao, which carries both Sucker Punch and Crunch. So you can't even calm mind your way out of those Sucker Punches. So there's a lot of tools for both trainers in this game, and it's going to be really fun to see what they lead with.
Yeah, and Zamazenta will threaten even a Terra Lunala with Heavy Slam as well once it's gone for its Fairy Terror, but it's going to be Fluttermane and Chi-Yu on the field versus Incineroar and Lunala.
The classic Chi-Yu Fluttermane lead. Choice Scarf Chi-Yu just making it the fastest Pokemon on the field. Paired up with that Fluttermane and up against these Incineroar and Lunala. Now the Chi-Yu, it's got the Choice Scarf, it cannot protect. So the Incineroar can try and go for the Fake Out. But the Chi-Yu is a Terra Ghost type, so it has to be Incineroar, if it wants to go for that Fake Out, has to be very careful. And Lunala is, of course, quite threatened on the field against the Ghost and the Dark type, so it has to be really watch out. But the Fake Out just comes out immediately onto this Chi-Yu. Yeah,
deciding that Chi-Yu is not going to be moving this turn. Taunt is able to connect down into Incineroar here. So showing now some parting shots, which would have reduced the offensive pressure coming out from Gregory's Pokemon and switch to the back. But this Moongeist Beam, super effective into the Fluttermane, it's going to be enough to secure the one-hit knockout.
Yes, Fluttermane, quite bulky on the specially defensive side, but up against the Lunala and Moongeist Beam, a really powerful Ghost-type attack. It really didn't enjoy taking that. Plus, its buddy Chi-Yu, unfortunately, actually was a bit detrimental to the Fluttermane there, just reducing its special defenses. But now, here comes this Zamazenta that has Body Press, and they can do super effective damage against this Incineroar. And now that the Fake Out has been burned, and the Incineroar has been taunted, it can no longer Parting Shot. So this Chi-Yu is sitting in a very comfortable position on the field right now and can just start threatening that Lunala with Dark-type moves, and if it tries to Terra out of that, well, the Zamazenta's got a Steel-type move for that.
Yeah, you're Terra Water on the Incineroar as well, rather than Ghost, so you cannot Terrasilize away from taking any damage from a Body Press. Instead, Eric's going to switch out the Incineroar. It's going to be able to provide an Intimidate heading into future turns. Rillaboom is going to come in its stead, setting up the grassy terrain on the field, and there it is, Zoe, with the leftovers as well. That is what's going to be healing up Lunala slowly but surely, may be able to recover its Shadow Shield. Lunala, though, keeping itself safe now.
Yes, Lunala going for the Protect just to scout out what this Choice Scarf Chi-Yu is going to lock into, and that is going to be a Snarl, and that does fairly respectable chip damage onto this Rillaboom, which has this offense, but the Body Press comes out.
Not enough.
Not enough to knock it out. And what's more is that there is now a fresh Fake Out available on the field. Lunala, of course, has now burned its Protect, so it is susceptible to damage. But because this Zamazenta cannot Terrasilize out of a Fake Out, it's forced out to go for the Protect if it was predicting that Fake Out coming in. So Chi-Yu, however, can go for a Ghost-type Terrasilization, but the Lunala also has Moongeist Beam. So, you know, Eric in quite a strong position with that Lunala, very nicely protected.
Yeah, well, even more so if you're switching the Lunala to the back. It was threatened very heavily there by Chi-Yu, but Eric realizing, no, that is not a trade that's worth making. Incineroar rejoining the fray here, providing another active Fake Out heading into the next turn. This is the playstyle that Eric favors, just being able to control with which Pokemon are going to be moving when. Zamazenta's not going to be able to move this turn. Snarl, it is enough to pick up the knockout onto the Rillaboom here, so that's one of Eric Rios' Fake Out pieces removed.
That critical hit on the Incineroar barely does anything to this Incineroar, and now there is once again a fresh Fake Out option. Look at things like that Gregory was not baited into a Protect or a Terrastilization on either of his Pokemon. So now that one of the Fake Out users has been removed, it makes it a lot easier for Gregory and a lot more difficult for Eric to cycle in and out these Fake Out users. So it's a really intelligent play that last turn, switching in the Incineroar, because I don't think many players will have the courage to go for a Body Press onto a Lunala slot.
Yeah, it's a really good point. It would have done absolutely zero damage to Lunala. Screamtail joining the field here. Its Photosynthesis boosting its speed. Interesting to see how that will interact with the Chi-Yu holding the Choice Scarf here, but Screamtail with a disruptive moveset of Disable and Encore. Of course, you can lock a Pokemon into a move with Encore and then make sure it cannot use it with Disable, and then you have to use Struggle, the backup move that all Pokemon resort to when they can't use any other. You're dealing recoil to yourself as well. It's also a very bulky Pokemon, so Gregory is going to want to remove it as soon as possible.
Yes, this Chi-Yu locked into Snarf, can't actually do very much against it. Looks like the fake out now will be coming off into this Zamazenta, and the disable, you called it, Charlie, onto this Chi-Yu. So this poor little fish is just... This turn, it will not be struggling, but if it stays in the field, again, the next turn, it will be forced to.
Yeah, well, Chi-Yu, if would have to switch out here, as you say, Zoe, but is that going to be... You do want to keep the Chi-Yu safe as well for the Lunala that's lurking in the back. I feel like a crucial thing for Gregory in this game is going to be baiting out the Terastallization over from Eric's side of the field, because as soon as, whether it's the Lunala or anything else, at least you then know what your most crucial piece is to favor into that Lunala. Be it the Zamazenta with its Steel-type moves into a Fairy Terror, or the Chi-Yu with Dark into its regular Psychic and Ghost typing. The Chi and Powder reveal of the final Pokemon for Gregory.
Yes, a lot of ruinous Pokemon that's been brought out into this battle. Looks like Incineroar once again going to retreat back to its trainer, just trying to dodge that super effective body press that's coming off from the Zamazenta.
Encore, here it goes. That Screamtail is getting up to its pesky shenanigans. This Zamazenta want to be the top dog, but you're locked into the body press, which is doing nothing into the Park Ghost-type Lunala here. Eric seems to be in total control thus far.
Yes, this Screamtail is just putting on so much pressure. It can't really do much damage, but it's the moves at its disposal now. Locking a Zamazenta into body press, which is no effect on the Lunala, not very effective onto the Screamtail. This Zamazenta is completely neutralized. Now there is that Qianpao on the field with access to both Crunch and Sucker Punch. But at this point, Eric can once again go for maybe a Protect and then see what this Qianpao goes for, and then Encore and disable once again.
Well, Terastallization is going to happen for one of these trainers. It's going to be over on Eric's side. It's now a Fairy type. So all of a sudden, Gregory's Steel-type moves all the more threatening into Lunala, especially once you've broken the Shadow Shield, once it's no longer at full HP. Dazzling Gleam, good for, well, a little bit of chip on Zamazenta, but Qianpao down to half HP. Ice Spinner removing the train. It can't be reset because Rillaboom's down, and crucially, breaking the Shadow Shield. And with that grassy terrain gone, Lunala will not be able to recover and get the Shadow Shield back intact. But that Body Press did a respectable amount of damage there. Where's the Moonblast targeting? It's going to be into the Qianpao. That will be Qianpao down. It's now just Chi-Yu and the Zamazenta on the field.
Yes, the Zamazenta did so much because of that Qianpao on the field, whose ability, Swords of Ruin, reduced the defenses of all Pokemon on the field. But that still wasn't enough to take out this bulky Lunala. And now that Gregory is forced down to his final two Pokemon, which is that Chi-Yu with the Choice Scarf, there's really nothing stopping Eric from going for a double Protect this turn and then disabling the Chi-Yu, and the Chi-Yu is just going to be forced to struggle for the rest of this match.
Yeah, and the Screamtail is at full HP. Would have been nice to have had a little bit of chip there so that you can remove it and remove the threat of the Encore, but yeah, a choice item is exactly the opposite of what Gregory wants to have in the face of a Pokemon that can disable it and Encore it.
Yes, this Encore Disable combination is so powerful. And now it looks like Gregory is, he's really got his back against the wall there, and looks like Screamtail now going for the Protect. Are we going to see a Protect from this Lunala?
Yeah, we certainly are. Would have been nice to have got a good chunk of chip damage into that Lunala, thanks to the Steel-type moves over on Zamazenta. The Heavy Slam, in this case, sometimes we see the Behemoth Bash. But yeah, Eric likes to play slow and steady.
Yes, there's nothing now stopping the Screamtail from going for the Disable onto this Chi-Yu. And the Zamazenta now, the Encores are going to be running out very soon, but the Screamtail can once again go for another Encore. Of course, it can only Encore one target at a time, and right now, yes, Zamazenta's Encore has ended. A Screamtail can only Encore one Pokemon at a time, but Chi-Yu is the bigger target. Eric still comfortably has another Pokemon in the back, and that can then deal with the Zamazenta, which is now at, I believe, -1 or -2 attack, so this Behemoth bashes, Heavy Slams will not be doing anything.
There it is, that's the Screamtail, making sure that Chi-Yu cannot use the move that it was just locked into. So Chi-Yu, it's a bit of a sitting duck on the field, or should I say fish. That's not going to be any heat waves. Body press into the Screamtail there, rather than the Heavy Slam, which would have been super effective, even though the Encore had just ended there. That's Moongeist connecting into Zamazenta. Yeah, it seems like Eric is slowly but surely chipping away and making sure that it's going to be a total eclipse for Gregory.
This game is very comfortably in Eric's favor. The Zamazenta can't really do anything. Now that it's gone for the body press, well, Screamtail can just Encore it again, and, well, it's forced to do very piddly damage with that body press. And Chi-Yu forced to struggle. There we go. There's the encore onto this sad dog.
Yeah. Wipe those tears from your face, my friend. You can recover in your kennel in a little bit, but for now, yeah, the Chi-Yu just has to go for that struggle. The treasure of ruined Pokemon that is now being ruined itself, unfortunately. Lunala there. Here's another Moongeist Beam connecting down. I mean, the Chi-Yu is fairly safe in the threat of Eric's team on the field right now. You can target into the Zamazenta. That's what's putting on most pressure. And for Gregory, I think this is just time where you can take a step back and reflect on how you want to approach game 2.
Is it just me, or does the Chi-Yu already look like it's flailing about in the field?
True.
It's not having a great time, and Gregory recognizes that and is going to forfeit this game, and he's going to have to think about what to do for game 2.
Eric is looking as calm as ever. I mean, it's like he just went down to the shop to buy a pint of milk. And here he is on the stage in the heat of a Pokemon battle. But again, just looks like he was in full control, and control is very much the playstyle that Eric wants to play towards here. What with the Encore and Disable coming out from Screamtail too. For Gregory, heading into this next game, it's difficult. You want to deal with so many Pokemon at once, but certainly it was the Screamtail in the end game. Wouldn't be surprised if Eric doesn't lead with the Screamtail, keeps it in the back to provide that pressure in the late game, in which case you just want to make sure you're chipping everything around. Again, trying to just... You do have the tools on Gregory's team to deal with that Lunala quite swiftly. So maybe if you're Gregory, you're just trying to go for more of that all-out offense, even though Eric's so good at shutting that down.
Yes, Gregory's Flutter Mane actually has Taunt. And we saw that game 1, the Screamtail was just so disruptive. It did absolutely no damage. Oh, it did go for a Dazzling Gleam that broke the Focus Sash, but its main value was in locking down the opponent's Pokemon and preventing them from going for those really powerful moves. And I almost wonder, as an adjustment into game 2, maybe bring the Flutter Mane with the booster energy. It could potentially be faster than the Screamtail. Get that Taunt off before the Screamtail. Or even if the Screamtail is faster, you can still taunt it because the Screamtail doesn't have Taunt. And once it's taunted, then its disruptive capabilities are a lot less.
Yeah, it's true. I think in that previous game, we saw the Flutter Mane go down immediately to the Moongeist Beam coming out from Eric's Lunala there. So certainly getting more out of your Flutter Mane if you're Gregory is crucial. Getting more out of any of your pieces. It feels so bad to lose one of your Pokemon on turn 1 of a game. You're essentially then using 3 pieces against your opponent's 4, and that's probably the disadvantage that will seal the deal for you. But we've seen the turnarounds in the past. These trainers are ready. They're locked in. They're ready to go. It's game 2 here in our current Swiss round at the Seville Special Championships. Gregory has to win this one to take it to a game 3. If Eric wins this, they will be the winner of our Swiss round. Let's get into it. Lunala, Incineroar, Chien-Pao, and Chi-Yu.
A bit of a switch up from Gregory here. Eric deciding to stay with the exact same leads as it worked perfectly for him in that last game. And now this Chien-Pao has caught the Intimidate, which it does not enjoy. Once again, the Chi-Yu is on the field, and its Choice Scarf, it is the fastest Pokemon on the field, but it's very susceptible to a Fake Out. And in that last game, Gregory did not go for the Terrestrialization turn 1, which is understandable. You don't want to burn that, but looks like the Chi-Yu is just going to withdraw immediately. Yeah,
a crucial piece for Gregory to have lurking in the back as Zamazenta rushes right back out of its kennel as Chi-Yu goes back to its tank. There is that one-time defense boost. If it switches that back in, it's going to lose that. So Gregory wants to capitalize on the defense boost while they can. Lunala just going to scout out as well. And what's this Incineroar locked into here? Is it going to be able to get some damage down? No, it's going to be reducing that offensive prowess of Zamazenta. Eric, parting shot, a match made in heaven.
This is a really nice switch in for the Zamazenta. Its main damage dealer is the body press, which doesn't care about the parting shot. Now, of course, the Zamazenta is at -1 attack, so those heavy slams won't be doing very much damage. But look, here comes the Screamtail once again, and because the Chien-Pao just went for that Protect last turn, Gregory has to be very, very careful, because if Eric reads the Chien-Pao staying on the field, he can just encore the Chien-Pao into a very useless Protect for the following 3 turns.
Yeah, it's not always the restricted Pokemon, the ones that are the most powerful, that are the most threatening in this game of Pokemon. Those little pesky fairy types as well, be it Screamtail, be it Grimmsnarl, all of that, Clefairy, they are often the MVPs, and certainly in that previous game that was the case. Is Eric going to be able to get as much out of Screamtail this turn? Well, Sucker Punch locked into, that's Encore. Chi and Power has to go for Sucker Punch now. That's useful information for Eric heading into the next turn.
Yeah, Encore into Sucker Punch is not the worst, but the Heavy Slam now comes off onto the Screamtail. At -1, you can see how important that parting shot was. But now, Lunala gets to do what it loves to do best, which is to set up with that Calm Mind. Now, in the face of these 2 physical attackers, it's not going to matter too much for its defensive capabilities. But now, these Moongeist beams and the Moonblast are going to be hitting really, really hard. And with the Chien-Pao locked into Sucker Punch, you can just safely not attack. Or the Screamtail can just go for the Disable onto the Sucker Punch, and all of a sudden, this little kitty will be stuck struggling on the field, same as its Chi-Yu.
Yeah. You just go for a million Calm Minds if you're Lunala, and you can just sell up fairly freely, although Flutter Mane coming in here will be a thorn in that side, with the booster energy activating, of course. Boosting its most proficient stat, gonna be the speed. These 2 past Paradox Pokemon staring each other down as Zamazenta keeps us safe from any damage. Is Eric gonna go fully setting up on this Lunala? The Disable heading into the Zamazenta. Will it be another Calm Mind? Yes, it certainly will. Eric is setting up for the sweep here. Zamazenta protected from the Disable thanks to Protect.
Wow.
But then you've got Encore heading into the next turn. So
Lunala is in such a strong position here because the Shadow Shield has not been broken and it is at +2 special defense. The Flutter Mane doesn't even have a Ghost type move anyway, so it can't do anything to this Lunala, and Eric is in a really comfortable position here. Now, one question I do have is, how fast is this Flutter Mane compared to the Screamtail? But it looks like Gregory might want to be lucky to... Oh, no, he's going for the taunt now. So, who is faster? Can he get that taunt off into the Screamtail? Or looks like it's going to be into the Lunala instead.
Okay, so shutting down future Calm Minds, shutting down future setup, and maybe Eric's deciding that 2 is more than enough and able to secure the game. Flutter Mane has decided to embrace the Grass Terror now. It's shed its weakness to the Moongeist Beam, but Lunala's still going to be hitting so hard. Screamtail is just going to scout out from behind its equally round Protect Shield. Flutter Mane trying to shut it down, the Pokemon that was such a problem in Game 1 between these 2 fantastic trainers. But no, it's safe from the taunt. Heavy Slam, with a critical hit as well. Maybe calling a Terrestrialization there, not sure, but it's still decent damage. It's the only way the Zamazenta can hit the Lunala anyway.
Wow.
And the Moongeist Beam at +2. Not enough to secure the knockout onto the Zamazenta. It's brought down to 12 HP, but yeah, basically any follow-up move will be enough to secure the KO.
This Zamazenta is a very bulky Pokemon. It took that really, really well, but now reduced down to 12 HP. It really doesn't have much time left on the field. Lunala, of course, has had its Shadow Shield broken, but the Flutter Mane can't really damage her with only Moonblast and Icy Wind as its moves. But it looks like the Moonblast now coming off onto the Screamtail. It is faster. It is going to get the KO onto the Screamtail, so no more disruption with Encores and Disables.
Really fascinating to see how this is being played out as the Heavy Slammer. Another one connects down into Lunala, and it's still in the green of its HP. How well is this Flutter Mane going to take the Moongeist Beam? It's no longer super effective, but it is a +2 special attack. Yeah, that's going to be enough for the KO, and that's also the Terrestrialization option down. I was going to say, in that Game 1, Screamtail was clearly the most valuable Pokemon. And so Gregory's thinking in this game, okay, I have to remove that. But while Gregory's focused on Screamtail, Eric's saying, well, I'll just put all my eggs in the Lunala basket instead. I'll get that set up while you're distracted. And all of a sudden, Lunala can just sweep away.
Yeah, that Lunala now is the main threat in this game. Screamtail in the last game, Eric actually used it as bait for Gregory to focus all of his attention onto this Screamtail, but all of a sudden now there is this +2 Lunala on the field. Now, there is once again this Chi-Yu Choice Scarf that's back on the field, and it is the fastest Pokemon on the field. But there's a fresh Rillaboom, and that is very ready with a Fake Out. And Gregory has already used the Terra Grass on his Flutter Mane, so there is no more Terra Ghost options.
Yeah, whereas Eric can go for that Terra Fairy on the Lunala. Yeah, you're making yourself weaker to Zamazenta, but you've still got the Incineroar in the back. And so, yeah, pivoting around is what Gregory has to do here. Zamazenta will just go for a protect. Gregory trying to eke this out as best they can. Fake out into the Chin Pao, crucially breaking the focus sash there, and a follow-up Moonblast. Yeah, that's Chin Pao down as well. As soon as it hit the field, time for a catnap for Chin Pao. Chiyu forced back out.
Yeah, I would say actually Chin Pao did its job of burning that fake out and absorbing any attack. Now the Zamazenta, the protect didn't do anything, so it could have potentially gone for something like a body press in that turn. But now you do have this Chiyu back on the field. There is no more fake out. Of course, Eric still has his Incineroar in the back, and that is a very healthy Incineroar, which resists everything this Chiyu can throw at it. So Eric really has the Pokemon advantage and also the type advantage here.
I'm right in saying that Eric hasn't terrestrialized yet, right? I'm pretty sure we haven't. Yeah, exactly. So Lunala is not as scared by this Chiyu as it might first appear, trainers. I was just second-guessing myself there, but yeah, with Terra Fairy, but then reducing the damage taken from Dark-type moves would be not very effective when once they were doubly super effective. Eric is still taking their time. He's never a trainer to rush things, but certainly hoping that the Seville Special Championships on home turf could be their path to another fantastic major win. Here comes the Incineroar. You may as well go for it. You may as well just mitigate the damage coming out from Zamazenta at this point in the game.
Yes, now, the interesting thing is the Zamazenta is quite speedy. If Gregory reads this, could he have gone for, say, a body slam into the Incineroar, and suddenly
body
that
press, yeah.
Did I say body slam? Yes,
you did.
body.
I mean, I'd love to see a body slam coming out. Yeah.
Paralysis boost, let's go.
Hail back to the Gen 1 days for sure.
Yes.
And it does the body press, and it's going to be super effective into the Incineroar. Very nice call by Gregory there. And when your back's against the wall, you have to make those kinds of calls. So Eric with Lunala and Rillaboom, it's just that health bar on Zamazenta has seen better days here. I mean, Eric still hasn't terrestrialized the Lunala either. Maybe this turn will be the one, but the mind games still are plenty. It's 2 versus 2. Let's see as Rillaboom rejoins the field.
Yeah, well, now that Chiyu has locked into Heat Wave, Lunala doesn't really have much to fear, and the Chiyu cannot protect. So a play that Eric could do, although there's so many plays now that's because it's so strong in his favor, is there goes the fake out onto the Chiyu, and maybe the Lunala will want to dispatch this Zamazenta.
Heavy slam into Lunala. Yeah, I mean, pitiful damage. I feel for you, buddy. I feel for you, Zamazenta. You're trying your best here. Chiyu does take that Moonblast. Really impressive.
+2.
Chiyu, yeah, I was going to say. It's you don't often see that, the Chiyu, but we have seen a couple of bulky Chiyus come out on stream so far, so a little bit of an adaptation to the metagame, perhaps. Lunala is slowly but surely recovering. If this game were maybe a couple of turns longer, maybe we would see that Shadow Shield coming back into play. I don't think it will come down to that. Finally time now for Eric to go for this terrestrialization. Will it be the restricted Pokemon? No, it's going to be the Rillaboom. You may as well resist these heat waves that the Chiyu has locked into by going for that Terra Water.
Yes, Rillaboom. I also wonder, is the Chiyu in range of a Grassy Glide from this Rillaboom? There goes the Grassy Glide. Yep, it is in range. Poor Chiyu hasn't done anything in this game except get flinched, get one Heat Wave off. And now the Body Press comes back onto the Rillaboom. Not enough to get the KO, but the Moongeisting will be easily enough to finish it off.
Fish well and truly out of order, that Chiyu out of position, but Eric Rios giving us an absolute masterclass. The winner of Swiss Round 5, it's Eric Rios.
Well done, Eric Rios, proving once again why he is one of the top trainers in the metagame. He's just so strong, so well positioned. Watching that game, he was just in control the entire time, just one step ahead of his opponent.
It's really good though.